What did Jesus actually teach about the second advent? That's the only way to get at the bottom line. And that's what all the church fathers looked at. That's what the reformers looked at. That's what all of the great theologians and thinkers in the history of the church looked at. The first question all of them asked was, what did Jesus say? And I want to go to Christ's statement on the subject because that's the clearest of all. In the 24th chapter of the Gospel according to Matthew, the Lord Jesus Christ very specifically made some observations in response to a question that was asked him. Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. Jesus said, "Do you not see all these things? I tell you that there shall not be left here one stone upon another, which shall not be cast down." As he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be?" Now notice the question, verse 3, very important. When will the temple be destroyed, and what will be the sign of your coming? Anybody have any difficulty understanding the question? It's very direct and very simple. What is the sign of your coming? How will we know? Jesus answered, "Take heed that no one deceive you, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am Christ.' They shall deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Do not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass. The end is not yet. Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in peculiar places. And these are the beginnings of sorrows. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted. They shall kill you. You shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Then many shall be offended. Many shall betray one another, and they shall hate one another. Many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he that endures to the end, the same will be delivered. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all of the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come." He set the perimeter. The gospel must be preached in all nations to all peoples. Then the end will come. "When you therefore shall see the abomination that makes desolate, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop don't even come down to take the things out of his home. Neither let him which is in the field go back to get his clothes. Woe unto them that are pregnant, and those that are nursing children. Pray that your flight be not upon the winter, neither on the Sabbath day." You notice here, in a Jewish context, he's talking about the Sabbath day. Jews will be keeping the Sabbath just before the second coming of Christ. Now look at verse 21 carefully. "For then there shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there is Christ, do not believe it. For there shall arise many false Christs and false prophets. They shall show great signs and miracles, inasmuch as if it were possible they would deceive the chosen. Behold, I told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he's in the desert, don't go. Behold, he's in the secret chamber, don't believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For wheresoever the carcasses are, there will the vultures be gathered." Now, look at verse 29. Follow the sequence. "Immediately after the tribulation of those days, then shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. The stars shall fall from the heavens, and the power of the heavens shall be shaken, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. They shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. They shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven unto the other. Verse 36. But of that day and hour no man knows, not the angels of heaven, but my Father alone. He goes on to describe it as the days of Noah. Verse 37. He talks about two in the field, one taken, the other left. Watch therefore, verse 42. For you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. Verse 44. Therefore be you also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man is coming. Now, I have read this in context just so you would get the full impact of what he was saying. Jesus said, after the tribulation of those days, I will come again. He describes the wars, the rumors of wars, persecution, famine, all of the horrors that are the beginning. And then he says, now this is the key, verse 15, when you therefore shall see the abomination that desolates, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, then flee. Now we have some time frame. Jesus said, when you see the abomination that desolates in the temple, then you know that my return is near. What is the abomination that makes desolate? What is it that will sit in the temple? Well, since Jesus said it, let's follow him to his logical conclusion. He said, spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Keep your finger in Matthew 24 and go back to the book of Daniel, chapter 9. Gabriel gives a vision to Daniel, the 70 weeks. And he tells him the things that are going to happen. Daniel 9:24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy place. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem to Messiah the Prince shall be 69 weeks. And 62 weeks Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with flood, and the end of the war desolations are determined. What will happen? Messiah the Prince will come after 489 years from the command to rebuild Jerusalem. We now know from the discovery of the Elephantine papyri in Egypt and the calendar of the Jews that the time for the command to rebuild Jerusalem was the spring of 457 BC. If you go from 457, 489 years, you will arrive at 27 AD. And then you will arrive at the crucifixion of Jesus Christ 3½ years later. It is a time prophecy that came to fulfillment exactly. There is no other possibility of its interpretation. Now, we know, therefore, that Daniel's prophecy about the coming of Christ was accurate. What was to take place, according to Daniel, when Messiah came? Messiah will die, verse 26, but not for himself, but for the sins of the people. And the people of the prince that shall come will destroy the city. In 70 AD, Titus, the Roman emperor, besieged Jerusalem, surrounded the city, and the Christians remembered the words of the Lord Jesus. And they immediately departed from Jerusalem. As rapidly as possible, the Jews stayed there. Jerusalem fell. Titus took the Jews back to Rome into slavery.